goods trains, he muttered. Oh, the shame of it.
And he bumped the trucks again.
Oh,
cried the trucks as he shunted them around the yard. James was standing nearby watching him. Trucks will be trucks, he said.
They won't with me,
grunted Gordon.
I'll teach them. They tried to push me down the hill this morning, he explained. It's slippery there, so you'll probably need help.
I don't need help on hills, huffed James. Gordon laughed and headed off to get ready for his next goods train.
Come on, James, said his driver. It's almost time for the express.
And with that, James puffed away to collect his waiting coaches. The guard soon blew his whistle and James puffed away. Come on, he puffed to the coaches. The train was soon running nicely, and James began to feel confident. Slippery hills indeed. I don't need help, he puffed. James soon arrived at the next station. He was feeling very pleased with himself, but he kept thinking about what Gordon had said. "I'll show Gordon who needs help on hills," he said to himself. But soon, James reached the bottom of the hill. Strong winds from the sea made the hill hard to climb. Leaves fallen from the nearby trees were now covering the rails, and the recent rainfall meant that they were too heavy to be blown away by the wind. I'll do it, he puffed. But his wheels slipped on the leaves. I must do it, he panted. But try as he might, his wheels kept on slipping, and he couldn't pull the train at all. Help! Help! Cried James. His wheels were turning forwards, but the heavy coaches pulled him backwards, and soon the whole train started slipping down the hill. James's driver applied the brakes, then going carefully reversed the train back down the hill, and they headed back to the station. When they arrived, they found Gordon waiting, who had seen everything.
I thought you said you could climb hills, he chuckled.
James didn't answer. He had no steam left to say anything.
Ah, well, we live and learn, said Gordon. Never mind, little James. I'm going to push from behind. Whistle when you're ready.
I'm ready, called James.
So am I,
replied Gordon.
Pull hard.
We'll do it, puffed James. Clouds of smoke and steam towered from the snorting engines as they struggled up the hill. "We can do it," puffed James.
We will do it, puffed Gordon.
Finally, the two engines reached the top.
We've done it! We've done it!
They puffed. The two weary engines were puffed out, but they continued onwards to the next station. And it wasn't long before they arrived. "Thank you, Gordon," whistled James. Gordon whistled goodbye as he watched James puff away. Then slowly he trundled back to his waiting trucks. Jack Frost. One evening, Sir Topham Hatt came to the sheds.
There's a big freeze coming tonight, he said. James and Percy, I need you to deliver extra coal to the stations.
"Yes, sir," they said eagerly, and Sir Topham Hatt walked away. "You better hurry," teased Thomas, "or Scary Jack Frost might get you." "Who's Jack Frost?" Percy said nervously. "Don't be silly," sniffed James. "Jack Frost is not scary." "Yes, he is," teased Thomas. "He's all white with a big spiky face." "Rubbish," said James. James knew Jack Frost wasn't scary, but poor Percy wasn't so sure. Later that night, James had collected his coal trucks and set off to make his deliveries. "Silly Percy," he thought, "all steamed up over Jack Frost. The sooner we get this coal delivered, the sooner I can get back to my nice warm shed." We've reached our first stop. Let's drop off some of the coal trucks. That's one delivery complete, so let's head to our next stop. Here's our next station. Let's drop off some more coal. That's another delivery complete. Hopefully, all this coal is enough to keep the passengers nice and warm during this cold weather. I'm just glad that I have my firebox to keep me from getting too cold. We finally reached our last delivery, so let's drop off all the remaining trucks. That's all of the coal delivered. Now I can get back to my nice warm shed. And with that, James puffed back towards Tidmouth Sheds. Meanwhile, Percy was making his last delivery.
Jack Frost is not scary. Jack Frost is not scary. Jack Frost is not scary.
Percy soon made his last delivery. The station master was very pleased to see him. "Percy," he cried, "we need twice as much coal to last through this freeze."
"Don't worry," Percy said. "This is my last stop. You can have mine. My lovely warm firebox will keep me nice and cosy."
So Percy's driver parked him on a siding with only a lantern for company.
"Do you think scary Jack Frost will find me?"
said Percy. "Jack Frost is not scary," chuckled his driver. "And don't worry, Emily will bring you some more coal in the morning." And then his driver and fireman went home to bed. Late that night, the icy wind howled. It started to snow, and Percy's fire had almost gone out. Soon Percy's face was so cold, an icicle hung from his nose.
"Oh, bother," stuttered Percy.
But it didn't sound like Percy. It was so cold, he could hardly make a sound. The next morning, Emily arrived with plenty of coal for Percy.
"Oh my," she said. "It looks like Jack Frost really got you then."
Soon Percy was loaded with fresh coal, and his fire was soon burning nicely. It wasn't long before his ice mask melted away.
"So scary Jack Frost is only frost,"
puffed Percy happily, and soon he was as warm as toast.